You're listening to Soap Dirt, the latest in television entertainment news.
Hey, B&B fans, it's Belinda from Soap Dirt, and we've got Thomas Forrester dropping some truth bombs on Hope Logan before he takes their son Douglas Forrester and leaves for Paris to put some distance between him and Hope. Will time away heal Thomas and Douglas's broken hearts after all this comes out? And will Hope follow after them when she realizes she did too little, too late to keep the man she claims to love? Let's dive in. But first, please click subscribe if you have not. So I found the most recent episode of B&B to have some really engaging dialogue and not just the same old repeat conversations. You know how they have this little talk and then we see it like 3 episodes in a row and it's almost blow by blow, word for word, the same stuff. Very annoying. In this case, I'm seeing fresh dialogue, especially between Thomas and Hope. Thomas asked Hope some very pointed questions, and I don't think she had any good answers to them. In fact, I felt like Hope kind of dug herself a little deeper into a hole, and that's why Thomas just decided he's going to go ahead, tell her goodbye, walks out after revealing he planned to leave LA that same day and take Douglas with him. So one of the things Thomas said that was pretty thought-provoking to me was when he asked if she would ever love him like he loves her, without reservations, without conditions. I mean, we all want unconditional love, right? But instead of reassuring him that she could and would love him like that one day, she sidestepped. And instead, she talked about how good he makes her feel and how much she enjoys being with him. You know, several times in that conversation, to me, it felt like he asked her a question, but then she answered something else instead. I do agree there's a big imbalance in their love and in their relationship where he's all in without limits. But at the same time, the way they've written this now, I honestly don't think he's still obsessed with Hope. If Thomas were still obsessed, think about it. There's no way he could or would walk away from her when he has her in his life and in his bed. You don't let a woman you're obsessed with go. You don't walk away from her. Instead, what I'm feeling is that he's got a healthy sense of what he wants in a relationship, and she's not hitting the mark. And he is entitled to his opinion. He's entitled to want what he wants in his life. At the same time, Hope is completely entitled to her side of things. If she feels like she needs more time to get past her divorce, that's up to her. But that doesn't mean Thomas has to wait around or accept that without pushing back and just walking away. He's absolutely allowed to walk away if he's tired of waiting or feels like he will always be left waiting and nothing's ever going to change. And I do agree with Thomas and Steffi and Ridge that Hope never should have accepted that ring. She didn't put it on her finger, but she put it on that chain. And then she kept talking about how she was keeping it near to her heart. She referenced it constantly, and she was always fiddling with it and kind of waggling it, especially around Thomas. And in hindsight, yeah, I can see how the Forresters might see this as her leading him on. I mean, I certainly thought she was finally going to put it on her hand when he asked again, but she didn't. And she insists that wearing it around her neck was a compromise. I don't see that as a compromise. I feel more like as much as that ring was dangling around her neck, she was keeping Thomas dangling. I feel like taking it in that way was to keep him where she wanted him, in her bed, in her life, helping raise her kids, helping her professionally, but without her having to make a long-term commitment to him. Certainly, Thomas made her life easier and he made it better. He saved her fashion line from being canceled. He gave her the best sex of her life, according to her, and he's devoted himself to her happiness. So I have to agree with Steffi that right now he is a great boyfriend. And I understand all of you out there that do not like them together, that are never thopers, that are completely stuck on what he did in the past, and you say it's inexcusable. But if you set that aside, as Hope has done, and look at his actions since they got together in Rome last, was it June, July? I have to say he's been very good to her. He's been sane and loving and just everything. Patient, thoughtful, attentive, devoted, but not crossing a line into obsessive. But in the end, if Hope doesn't see herself marrying him one day and she knows that's what he wants, then she needs to let him go. Only the thing is, Hope doesn't want to let him go. So thinking about Ridge and Steffi's accusations that Hope is using Thomas, I mean, I'm not so certain that they're off the mark if you think about it. If you have someone in your life and you have misaligned goals and plans for the future, but you like how they make you feel and you're not being honest with them because you want them to keep on making you feel good, that's kind of textbook definition of using someone. But really, to me, in this episode, the most critical piece of dialogue was when Thomas brought up why Hope finally said, "I love you." She didn't say it all the times he said it to her. She kept telling him she loves how he makes her feel. She loves the man he's become. Stepping around it, near it, but stepping around it while wearing that ring around her neck. So during this last chat, she said, no one ever made her feel this way before. That means not Liam, not Wyatt, not Oliver way back in high school. And Thomas said he never pushed her on the "I love you" because he felt her love for him. But she finally dropped that "I love you" as a Band-Aid when he was hemorrhaging, when she stabbed him in the heart by rejecting his second proposal. And again, I'm not saying she was wrong to refuse the proposal. If she doesn't want to marry him, then that was the correct response, right? But Thomas called her out, saying she finally said "I love you" while rejecting him to try and keep him at her side. That seems pretty accurate. So what I actually see is Thomas is heartbroken and he needs to walk away from her. And when Douglas finds out they're splitting up, he's going to be heartbroken too. That comes this week as well. What I basically heard Thomas saying to Hope was, when she said, "Oh, but I love you, I don't want to lose you," it was just too little too late. So I wonder if Hope told Thomas that she loved him before that moment, maybe he wouldn't have gone ahead and proposed that second time so soon because he wouldn't have needed that validation. If she was really in love with him and was telling him that, then I think that whole thing need not have happened. Just my theory. And I know a lot of viewers can't let go of Thomas's past, but for purposes of this discussion, I'm looking at him in the way that Hope does. As a man that she sees has changed, isn't the same man that did those things. But what was also interesting is that Thomas said he needs to be a man that his son can respect. Someone, who doesn't let a woman walk all over him, use him, push him around, that's committed to him and loves him unconditionally. And I agree with Hope that some of what he said does sound like Steffi speaking out of his mouth, but I also don't think Steffi was entirely wrong. What was super interesting to me was when Thomas said, maybe there's someone out there that can love him the way he loves that person too. That sounded final to me, like he wants to get over her and find someone to love him in a way that is reciprocal and balanced. It sure sounds to me that if Hope Logan really wants to keep her man, she might have to make an effort to win him back. Again, I feel like this is a temporary split. that the writers are using as a way to get Thomas and Hope on equal footing in this relationship, and not just him desperately being her boy toy or man toy or that other kind of toy that Steffi said that she was using him as. I still fully anticipate a May sweeps reunion, but of course we'll just have to wait and see. So do you think Thomas and Douglas will find a way past their heartache while they're away in Paris, and will Hope go chasing after them to try and put her family back together? Drop your comments, and of course we'll wait and see, but I'm very excited about all this, and I really love these recent scenes with them. Please subscribe if you haven't, though, and come back soon, because we're here talking bold 7 days a week on the most followed soap channel on YouTube. And as always, it's Belinda from Soap Dirt.
Thank you for being a loyal listener. Follow us wherever you get your podcast, because you don't want to miss the next episode. Soap Dirt is on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more.